Yoyo Gang, what's up? You probably never asked yourself if it's possible to make a hard Southside type beat only using Serum 2. But don't worry, I asked it for you, and today we are finding it out together. I mean, maybe it's easy. Now let me tell you, it's not. So here are the golden rules. I am only allowed to use Serum 2 to make every single sound from scratch. And yes, I mean also the drum sounds. Second rule, I can use FX plugins to mix the sounds. And yeah, that's it. Alright guys, so here's the plan. To make a full Southside type beat, I need at least these sounds. For the melody, I need a string, a key, a bass, and maybe a brass. And for the drums, I obviously need a spins 808, a snare or a clap, and a close hi-hat. So I know the basics of sound design, but I have really no fucking clue how to design a realistic string sound or how to make a snare or a clap from nothing in Serum. So my only chance is to do what every producer does when he has no idea, watching YouTube tutorials from other guys and stealing their stuff. At the beginning I was actually feeling pretty confident. I thought, yeah, whatever, I will just watch a few tutorials, learn the basics and cook some sounds. But the deeper I went, the more I realized that making realistic strings in Serum and making the spins iterate is probably gonna be the hardest part of this whole challenge. I watched hours of people drawing in weird envelopes, stack saw waves, add noise, modulate filters, and I was like, okay, this might work. But in the other moment I was thinking, this might be the moment I regret everything. Alright guys, I watch hours of tutorials on YouTube now, and I think I kinda know what I'm doing now, at least in the theory. So let's stop talking, let's actually open Serum 2. Okay, I will start with some keys because that's an easy one. The most important part here is to set up the envelope correctly. If you don't really know what an envelope does, let me help you. It's basically a visualization of how the volume of a sound behaves over time. The attack is how fast the sound gets loud. So keys usually have a really short attack, while pads have a long attack so they slowly fade in. The decay controls how fast the sound drops down right after hitting its peak. Sustain is the level the sound holds while you keep the keys pressed. So if you want punchy keys, the sustain is usually lower, and if you want long, steady sounds, the sustain is usually higher. And the release is how long the sound keeps playing after you let go of the key. A short release makes the sound stop immediately. The long release lets it fade out smoothly. So for our keys, I'm keeping the attack really short, maybe like this. I'm setting the decay maybe to 2.3 and I'm pulling the sustain down maybe like this. And I'm setting the release maybe to 1 second so it fades out smoothly. Now the core of our sound lives here. Each oscillator lets you load different waveforms and the waveform basically decides the character of the sound. So I'm scrolling through and listening for something that already sounds like a solid key. To make it hit harder, I'm activating oscillator B and layering a more aggressive sound. Now our keys need some more space, so I'm adding reverb to it. Now that sounds like a high energy key Southside would actually use. So let's move on to the bass. So respace is actually pretty simple. You just need the initial preset from Serum and pitch it down 2 octaves. So it sounds solid, but you can add a second oscillator and mess around with the fine pitch so it slightly detunes the sound. For the brass, we're actually using almost the same setup as for the bass, but with this small changes. This time we're slowing down the attack and letting the envelope fade out smoothly. Now here's the key part for the brass. I'm taking the envelope and modulate the cutoff of a low pass filter. And then I got to the strings, and this is where I almost gave up, not gonna lie. After like 20 minutes, I got this. At this point, I started thinking, bro, why did I even start this? So I went back to YouTube, and after another hour, I finally had a sound that, let's say, sounds a little bit like strings. Alright guys, so my strings sound like this. It's not super realistic, but I think we can use it. So I use 2 oscillators, but oscillator B doesn't make any sound. So the volume is set to 0 because it's only there to modulate the frequency of oscillator A. That tiny pitch movement is what makes it feel less synthetic. And the most important effect for strings, a comb filter. I'm not gonna lie, I don't really understand the physics behind it, but it does something really important to the strings to make them sound more realistic. By the way, if you want the presets I made in this video, let me know in the comments. Alright, we got all sounds now let's actually make a fire sample out of this. Yeah man, that's hard. Oh, that's hard. At this point I was like, okay, this actually sounds like a dark Southside loop, and to make the drums should be quite easy, but fuck, it wasn't. So I started with the Spins 808 because, obviously. But let me be honest, I watched tutorials, I asked ChatGPT, and no matter what I did, it just never sounded like a real Spins 808. And instead of forcing it, I decided to do something better. Make my own 808. I started with sine wave, a saw wave, and some noise, and it sounds really weird, but trust the process. Next I added the filter, and now we're getting closer. But it's still missing something, the punch from a kick at the beginning of the 808. And here's the trick, a kick is basically a waveform that drops down in pitch very fast. That fast pitch drop is what creates the punch. So I thought, why not using the same idea for my 808? I created a second envelope that modulates the cutoff of the filter. Then I added a third envelope and used it to modulate the pitch of oscillator A and B. And now when you play it, it sounds like this. To finish the sound I added distortion and a filter. Honestly, I think it's really solid and I will add some more effects while making the beat later. The closed hi-hat was really the simplest part of this challenge. It's basically just some white noise, an envelope with short decay and a low cut filter. Alright, the last thing we need, a hard snare. And my first snare sounded like a disappointment in audio form. Yo, what the fuck? So I thought maybe a clap will work better. I mean, maybe we can use it. Now that we have got all the drum sounds, let's turn it into a fire beat. Alright, let's see what we got. Alright guys, I'm not saying this beat is perfect, but considering where we started, I would take it. Let me know in the comments what challenge I should do next, and if you think I snapped on this one, leave me a like. Also subscribe to my channel if you don't want to miss what's coming next.